If you're on a boat traveling north at 10 meters per second relative to the water, which is traveling at 3 meters per second east relative to the ground, how fast are you traveling relative to the ground? Oh, okay. Well, first things first, let's draw a little picture. I have to draw pictures. So it says that I'm on a boat. You're on a boat traveling north. So here's my big boat, and I'm walking north. I'm walking north at 10 meters per second to the water. Okay, let's put an axis here. So y and x. And relative to the water. Oh, okay. Which way? The water is traveling east. So the water is traveling eastward. Okay, it's traveling eastward at 3 meters per second to the ground. How fast are you traveling relative to the ground? So we're going to use new notation here. We're going to call this the boat. We'll call this the water. And we'll call this the ground. So what we can say here is that vector or velocity of the boat relative to the ground is equal to vector of boat relative to the water plus vector of water relative to the ground. And this is the notation that we brought up last time, where we just, instead of calling it vector 1, vector 2, we can make things relative, and it makes it more easy to follow, because we can see here that b over g is the same thing as b over w and w over g, where water is just the intermediate vector point. Okay, so let's write all this down. So vector of boat relative to water. Vector of boat relative to water. I'm traveling north at 10 meters per second relative to the water. There it is. The boat is 10 meters north. So it's going to be 0 x hat plus 10 y hat. Vector of water relative to ground. Well, it's going to be traveling eastward at 3 meters per second. And if I add those two up, I'm going to get vector of boat relative to ground. And it'll be 3x hat plus 10y hat. How fast are you traveling relative to the ground? How fast am I traveling? How fast? I'm looking for the vector magnitude. Vx squared plus vy squared. Three squared plus 10 squared, square root answer is 10.4 meters per second.